right now. That was an airplane. Wait for the plane.
Wait for it.
So you're probably wondering, Forrest, what the heck are you doing on some train tracks right now in the middle of nowhere? Well, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about IRAs, individual retirement accounts. So this video and another video I just shot talking about 401ks are critical to securing your financial future. IRA stands for individual retirement account. You can contribute a little over $5,000 every year. Do that for 20, 30, 40 years, and hopefully you'll retire as a millionaire. We're not going to shoot the whole thing here though, because it is hot outside and also trains run on these tracks. So we're going to jump to my desk. But before that, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and share this with 2 of your friends. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Forrest. I invest in stuff and you should too. Today we're talking about IRAs, individual retirement accounts, and why now is one of the best times to contribute to one, invest in one, start one if you haven't done that. If you are excited to learn about IRAs, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate each and every one of you trying to get to 10,000 subscribers this year. Missed my target, but we're gonna get there one video at a time, one person helped at a time. That is my goal. But that's enough of that. Let's jump into it. So here's what we're talking about in this video, right? First, we're gonna talk about what an IRA is, what retirement accounts are in general. Then we'll break down the limits and ultimately my thoughts on why you should invest in one. So like I said, IRA stands for traditional individual retirement account. Retirement accounts in general, if you think of IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401ks, Roth 401ks, right? And there's a few other ones out there, but those are the primary ones that we're talking about. To individuals, are just tax advantage accounts, right? So you can grow money, tax deferred. That means that you basically don't have to pay taxes on the growth of that money until you withdraw it at retirement age, and often there's a penalty if you withdraw it early. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do any early withdrawals. We're going to let our money grow tax advantaged until we're over 59 and a half years old. We're going to do that. Me and you, we're each going to do that. So let's actually, and I'll just scroll through. If you're not familiar with Investopedia, check it out. I use it to make sure I'm keeping my head on straight often when we're talking about these things. I'm a few years removed from my Series 7 now, right? So I used to know this stuff off the top of my head. I don't now, but that's okay. That's what Google is for. All of this information is accessible. My goal is to demystify this and talk about the advantages of doing this, and ultimately to get as many people to do this as possible, right? If you've maxed out your 401k, for example, you can start an IRA. Maybe you don't have a job, right? Maybe you don't have the benefit of an employer-sponsored retirement plan. So an IRA is the only way that you can create a retirement account, right? And that is the case for a lot of people. And that's okay. Maybe if you're self-employed, very common, scenario to be in. An IRA is something you could do. Obviously, you can set up your own 401k, but that's some advanced stuff. Anyone could do an IRA, which is why it's something that anyone should do, right? So there's a few different IRAs. There's Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs. Money held in an IRA usually can't be withdrawn before 59 and a half years old without incurring a hefty tax penalty of 10% on the amount withdrawn. So the important thing to remember about early withdrawals is you will pay the early withdrawal penalty and you'll pay taxes, right? All at the same time. So you're paying 10% on top of whatever that tax rate is. Not something you want to do, guys, unless you have to, if you're in some hardship or something like that. So the primary benefit of an IRA and why I think everybody should do one is they are much more free than a 401k, right? In a 401k, which is an employer-sponsored plan, you often are given a selection of things that you can invest in, right? Your employer basically works with someone and says, hey, these are retirement bundles of goods, and we're going to let you invest in these, and we'll give you a match, right? We'll match 7% of your contributions, or up to $5,000, whatever it is, and that's great. You make that money, but you're limited. You can't just go and buy 2-3 stocks of whatever, right? You just can't do it. In an IRA, you can, right? I can go to my broker, I can start an IRA, and I can just buy whatever I want in that. And that's a fantastic thing that you can do. You can trade within an IRA. Right? A lot of people didn't know that. You can trade inside your IRA, which is a great way to build tax-deferred income. Maybe don't want to scream that from the rooftops. There could be some scrutiny about that, but there are some, pretty big time, famous, investors who have done just that, right? So basically, you don't have to pay any capital gains as long as you don't withdraw that money. It's inside your IRA. So imagine taking an account, right? Just to say you put $30,000 into an IRA, and you trade your way up to 200 grand, 300 grand, 400 grand, and you just never withdraw that money out of that account. You pay zero capital gains on that money. Pretty nuts, right? The most important thing to remember, though, is that one, you can't just contribute $30,000 off the bat to an IRA. It's actually the annual contribution limit is pretty low, right? So it's $6,000 right now, I believe. If you're 50 or older, you can contribute up to $7,000 per year. That is per year, so $6,000 per year, which means you're going to be pretty limited in those first few years in trading or making any trades, right? So probably stick to swing trading if that's something you want to do. You can swing trade inside this account, but in general, even though I mentioned that, this should not be your primary trading account. Do not do this. This is a retirement account, guys. This is an account that you're putting money in long term. Actually, just forget what I said about trading in this account. Don't do that. Let's just focus on buying long term ETFs like VTI, VOO, in general, blue chip, large companies, things that are going to be here forever. Some of the big oil companies. Well, that's ironic. Maybe not going to be here forever. Some of your big retailers, maybe Walmart, Amazon, Apple. Apple's a great company to buy. Microsoft, right? IBM, Boeing, right? Well, Boeing might be a rough one. Point is, think about blue chips. They're going to be here for a while. And put those inside your IRA, because this is going to be your 30-year account, right? If you're a little bit older, that's okay. Whatever your time horizon is, it honestly does not matter. Just pick the blue chips, pick things that are going to grow, pick things that are going to survive the recession, right? They're not going to get shaken out by, new players or highly innovative players in a space. These are going to be the guys buying, those innovators, right? Apple, no one's going to displace Apple. I would put money on no one displacing Apple in 5 years, 10 years, right? Apple will just buy them, and they'll just be Apple, right? Think about that. If you think about a smaller phone company, what are their possible outcomes? It would take them a really long time to displace, something like Apple. So these are the types of things you have to keep in mind when you're doing long-term investing or just investing in general. But yeah, again, this one doesn't have to be that long. IRAs are far simpler than 401ks. The only other thing to keep in mind is the difference between an IRA and a Roth IRA. I'm losing my voice. Oh my God. I often, when I'm shooting these videos, guys, will just start losing my voice. And I'm like mid-thought, like halfway through a long-ass thought, like starting to lose my voice. And I realize I'm losing my voice. I'm like, man, I gotta finish this thought before I lose my voice. But then my voice starts losing. But a Roth IRA versus a standard IRA. So the only other important thing to think about, really the only other important thing when it comes to retirement accounts is Roth versus standard. That applies to IRAs as well, right? So with a Roth IRA, you employ or you utilize after-tax dollars. That money, you've already paid taxes on that money, which means that when you withdraw it later, you don't have to pay taxes on it again, right? So there's no income tax, no ordinary income tax on that money when you withdraw it. And think about the implications of that, right? So if you're someone like me who, whose income has shot up, my first job out of college, I was making $55,000 a year at old Edward Jones. Shout out to them, cool little Midwest company. And now I make, multiples of six figures. The implications there are steep in terms of the amount of taxes that I pay, right? I'm in the highest tax bracket now for most of the money that I make. So a little humble brag for you, whatever. I guess it's not a humble brag, it's pretty in-your-face brag. But the point is, right, so for someone like me, Roth utilities are great. Unfortunately, I actually make too much to actually contribute to an Roth IRA. I think the limit is like $126,000 in order to contribute to a Roth. So I can't even use a Roth. But in general, all the money that I did contribute before I exceeded those limits is growing, and when I withdraw it, I will not have to pay, the 36%, whatever it is, ordinary income tax at that tax level that I'll be making, when I retire, right? So these are things to keep in mind. If you plan for your income to grow, a Roth is a great thing to be in. Again, it really does not matter. Do not over optimize this. If I was in a standard, I would not care, guys. You only pay taxes on money that you've made, and by no means am I upset about paying taxes. Is our tax system perfect? No, I'm not going to belabor or get political in this episode, but it's okay. If I have $7 million, you're going to pay taxes on that. Boo-hoo, whatever. I made my money. I did good. I'm retiring anyways. I'm at the end of my life, so I did a good job. So that's really it for this video. Nice, sweet, and short. Start a 401k, or not a 401k. Watch my 401k video. I did just shoot that. Start an IRA if you don't. It's a great utility. It's a great other bucket of money, and max out all your buckets, guys. I think if you have a 401k, if you have an IRA, if you have an individual brokerage account, if you have an emergency fund, the joy is, despite there being penalties and all that, no matter what life throws at you, you got to pay a 10% penalty here, a little penalty there. You have money. You just have money, right? And that's what I think about is, it does not matter if I've got $75,000 in a 401k, for example, I have $75,000 of problem-solving power now or later. So just keep that in mind. Don't worry so much about the optimization of finances. I talk about this all the time. The most important thing is to consistently contribute to a system over 5, 10, 20 years. All right, if you consistently contribute to a system over 5, 10, 20 years, you will outperform 99.9% of people every time, regardless of how optimized that system is, because most people don't even have a system that they can optimize. Most people are doing nothing, right? Most people are, hoping for the best outcome and just hoping that, the shit will get together for them at the end of life. And there are some really sad numbers and outcomes because that is the case, which is why I do this and I have this channel, because I don't want that to be you. You are not a regular person. You're watching this video. Hopefully I rub off on you and, you push those limits for yourself. But in any case, I'll stop pontificating. If you're still here, you better hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, share this video with 2 friends. My name is Forrest. I invest in stuff you should too, mentally, physically, financially. Peace.